Good evening. Welcome to the debrief here on the Blood Red channel. Diogo at the double, the Fox in the box, seeing off the Foxes at Anfield. Myself, Guy Clarke, and Matt Addison here to look back on the 2-0 win over Leicester City. And well, Matt, let's talk about the main man, Diogo Jota. Jurgen Klopp's been speaking about him in his press conference and effectively saying he still feels as though there might be even more levels to reach for him. 16th and 17th goals of the season for him tonight. Shows no sign of letting up.
No, I mean, I've just done the maths. Then if he continues to score at the same rate in the Premier League, he'll end up with 22, which I think for the last 3 seasons would be enough to share the Golden Boot, which I just think is, remarkable for a player that, we've spoken about at times over. Well, certainly when he first came in from Wolves, has kind of been a streaky player, someone who maybe would do it for 3 or 4 games and then turn it off for a bit. But it's just been relentless, hasn't it, this season from him? And tonight was no different. I think Jurgen Klopp is right. There is still more to come from him. I think we saw, the one-on-one that he missed last week that he sort of generated for himself with that nice turn and hits it straight at the goalkeeper. There was that miss against Wolves. There are still chances for him. It sort of reminds me a little bit of Mohamed Salah, obviously. Different sort of level in terms of him with his first season where he scored a lot but also missed quite a few chances as well and could have scored a few more. So I do think there's still another level to be unlocked from him, but yeah, he was fantastic again and just sort of scoring all types of goals, isn't he? We've spoken at times about the headers. Tonight we saw the kind of poacher's finish when it dropped inside the box. We've seen all sorts of different finishes from him, and he's just sort of becoming, a real all-round forward, isn't he? He can do a little bit of everything. Obviously, the sort of song with Roberto Firmino is that you give him the ball and he'll score. It's becoming more and more the case that it's actually Diogo Jota that has done that this season. And for me now, it's been the case for a good few months now, but there's no doubt for me that Roberto Firmino's time as Liverpool's number 9 is over. I think he's going to settle for a bit more of a squad role now, and Diogo Jota is 100% the reason why that is.
How close do you think he is to entering now that kind of world-class bracket? Is this just world-class form that he's in? Or is actually, because as you say, he kind of has those, I suppose, Salah hallmarks to him of times where he doesn't always look the most convincing. Or, for example, Salah's moved into a different stratosphere now, but when he first arrived, it's kind of, you don't just give him the ball and he's going to go beat 5 or 6 players and put it in the back of the net. It's sheerly down to his positioning, his timing, and his pure poacher instincts.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I don't think you can really call him anything other than world class. As I say, there is still another level to come. So quite what that is, I don't know. But I think the numbers that he's put down this season, 17 goals at this stage, is just a remarkable number, really. If it wasn't for Mohamed Salah, I think people would have noticed a lot earlier. Obviously, Salah is by far and away, he's doing the goals, the assists, everything that you can do. Obviously, the best player in the world, and obviously he's going to get the attention for it. But what Diogo Jota is doing, he's scored at least 3 more goals than anyone else in the Premier League now. I think Jamie Vardy is 3 behind him. There's other players who you'd expect to be a little bit higher up that list who are just nowhere near him. So whether you can call him world class, I don't know, but it's very, very close. If not, I mean, it's just that the sheer numbers, the goals, that, as I say, the types of goals as well. It's all different kinds of finishes. He's so good defensively as well. I mean, I don't think he's quite as intelligent with his pressing as what Roberto Firmino was at his peak. But even so, he's still, such a hard worker. He puts himself in the right positions. He can win the ball back. He's just done so many things that we knew he was able to do, but just not on that consistent basis. And yeah, for me, he probably is world class, but certainly if there's any kind of argument, it would be a case of he's not quite. It wouldn't be that he was nowhere near it, because he absolutely is. He's very, very close at the very least.
He's got that clinical edge to him, maybe, that Roberto Firmino doesn't. But equally, you mentioned there the press and the difference within that. But he offers a different fluidity as well, doesn't he? He drops out to the left. And let's move on to talking about Luis Diaz, who made his Premier League debut tonight. He didn't get the goal, almost put it through the legs of Kasper Schmeichel. But as much as we were anticipating when he arrived to play as a kind of touchline hugging winger who cut onto his right foot, he pops up again absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, we saw it a little bit against Cardiff, and I did wonder whether that was just it was Cardiff and Liverpool were in cruise control, and he was just given a bit more of a license really to be able to do that. But I think the fact that we've seen it again, I mean, it's still the case that Jurgen Klopp hasn't had a lot of time to be able to kind of instill in him what he wants from him. It still could be that his role almost certainly will evolve at Liverpool, and we'll see different things from him, I'm sure, over the next few months. But it's interesting, isn't it, that his instinct clearly is to go all the way across that front line. There was little bits where he played as the number 9 for a couple of minutes and then swapped back. And we've seen that with so many different positions. You see it every time Liverpool have a corner with Trent and Robertson. They spend 5 minutes on the opposite side. You've seen it with Thiago and Fabinho, for example. They might swap for a few minutes. It's just so instinctive that these players can drop in and sort of fill in for each other's positions, play in a couple of different roles. And the fact that Luis Diaz is doing that without really properly being able to speak English, without having integrated into the squad properly, without all of the rest of the things, he's not being taught to do this. It's just happening naturally that it's the case that he's being able to do all of these things. It's really, really promising, and it's the exact same for him so far. Brilliantly good for him, but just like Diogo Jota, there's another level to come.
Did tonight then perhaps mark a changing of the guard? Obviously, Diogo Jota has been round for a while, but are we now going to see maybe in the next evolution of the front three a more mobile, fluid and interchanging front three? Because the current incarnation of Mane, Firmino and Salah, very much Mane off the left, Salah off the right, Firmino through the middle. But even when Salah came on tonight, and we've obviously seen him through his time at Liverpool play as a number 9 at times and was continuing to get into very central attacking areas.
Yeah, I think it's having the options to do both, isn't it? You can still have those fixed positions. You can have them so that they move about a little bit more. I think that's the beauty, isn't it, of having these players that can play in a few different roles, can do a few different things. They've each got, individual skill sets that kind of complement each other, but equally you can sort of put them in whatever kind of formations that you want. I know Jurgen Klopp's spoken in the past about playing with kind of a 4-4-2, that Diogo Jota could play either side of a 4. He could play in the middle. I think Luis Diaz will be pretty similar as well. So, yeah, it's just that next evolution, isn't it? It's not just the fact that he's a quality option that you can put into that front 3, but it's also a case of you've got the other 2 on the bench who can potentially come on. Obviously, Sadio Mane wasn't there today, but will be in future matches for Liverpool. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's just that extra little edge tactically. You've got an extra weapon to be able to call upon. It's an extra bit of quality. I actually thought Takumi Minamino did all right when he came on today, but in future weeks there's going to be even more quality to kind of throw in there. So yeah, I think it's a case really of if it can be both, it can be whatever you need it to be. And I think that the interesting thing for me, I'm sure we'll touch on Harvey Elliott at some point as well, but I think it's interesting as well that you've kind of got him on that side. It's again another opportunity for Salah to move inside at times, Trent to go on the outside, Harvey Elliott to go on the outside. It's a much more kind of attacking Liverpool team, I think, when you've got these players in there. You've got, that midfielder who is basically a winger that's been pulled back and will do that role. But it's not a case of having him and not having someone in front. You've also got Salah. You've got almost the front 4 at times. You've got then the fullbacks can bomb forward. It's an extra level tactically to what Liverpool can do. And I think, against a team like Leicester or like the many other teams that will just sit in and defend and try and counter-attack, I think, for Liverpool to have the depth to be able to change things, the quality to be able to break these teams down, and also just the sheer numbers of attacking players to be able to put all into one system. I think it's just giving them the keys really to answer any problem that is thrown in front of them. And of course that can all change. You get 1 or 2 injuries and suddenly it's a different story. But right now the Liverpool squad just looks like it's got the answer to absolutely everything it needs to be honest.
Yeah, that was the real thing tonight, wasn't it? Actually seeing that pure squad depth right in front of your eyes. Obviously no Mane, no Jordan Henderson yet. You looked at the bench as well and it was just littered with quality absolutely everywhere. I thought Curtis Jones, to be fair, played really well in the midfield. But as you said there, before we go as well, I'll kind of let you hit on both of them at one time. It was Trent Alexander-Arnold's 150th Premier League game today. Didn't quite mark it with an assist. Virgil van Dijk denied, and that obviously falling to the feet of Diogo Jota. But in terms of Harvey Elliott as well, back in the Premier League as well. Luis Diaz making his Premier League debut, but both of them obviously off the bench at the weekend. But Harvey Elliott back in league action, and just so much excitement now as to that kind of trio down the right-hand side of Trent, Elliott and Salah, what they can put together for this second half of the season. And I suppose worth asking, is it beyond Liverpool to catch Man City?
No, it's not beyond them at all. I think Liverpool had to win tonight. They had to put on a bit of a performance and show, really. I think this Leicester team was hurting from what happened to them at the weekend, and Liverpool just sort of showed them the gulf in quality. And I think, yeah, it's not beyond them to catch them. Obviously, it's still difficult, but when you've got the number of players that the squad that Liverpool have got, they'll keep going, they'll keep trying. And as I say, you just would not put it past them to put together a bit of a run. I think they're every bit as likely as Manchester City to go on and win 10 games in a row or whatever it might have to be. I think they will have to go to City and win to have any chance of it, but it's certainly not over. I think, obviously 6 points at this stage for most teams probably wouldn't be insurmountable. Obviously, Manchester City might be slightly different. It might be gone, but Liverpool certainly won't give up. And like you say, all of those players really were impressive. The squad depth, you look on paper and in reality as well, the sort of levels that these players reached was just so impressive tonight. And it was a fairly quiet game, I thought, actually, for Trent Alexander-Arnold. Didn't do a huge amount, didn't obviously get the assist. He did absolutely fine. He didn't do anything wrong, but maybe more of the play was on the opposite side at quite a few occasions. Obviously, Luis Diaz and Andy Robertson heavily involved for Liverpool. So, yeah, there's still more to come from all elements, really. I think probably more to come from Curtis Jones as well. I think it was a slight missed opportunity for him in that he did okay, but didn't quite sort of do possibly enough when you consider the sort of number of options in that midfield. There's so many games to come. I'm sure he'll get more opportunities, but once or twice did lose the ball in a couple of dangerous areas. Maybe could have moved it on a little bit quicker. So there are still improvements. There's still little tweaks, but of course you've got different personnel to come in. You've got so many different options really that Jurgen Klopp can turn to over the next few weeks. It'd be interesting to see actually who plays at the weekend. You'd imagine Mohamed Salah will come back into that team. Be interesting to see if Luis Diaz plays away at Burnley. That would be a proper introduction, really, to Premier League football for him. Yeah, I mean, I suppose he got a fair few kicks, didn't he, against Cardiff, so it wouldn't be that different. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Liverpool do. But yeah, like we keep saying, that the bottom line is the squad depth is there. If they want to make a few changes, they can do. And obviously the Champions League and so many other things to look forward to. I'm sure they will. So yeah, really exciting stuff, I think, from a Liverpool perspective tonight, but also what it means moving forwards.
Yeah, exciting stuff on the pitch, exciting content off it to come here on the Blood Red channel. Do stick with us ahead of the weekend's visit to Turf Moor. The Blood Red podcast will be with you on Friday afternoon, as well as Jurgen Klopp's pre-match press conference. His post-match press conference from tonight is already available to watch on the channel. All that's left to say is from myself, Guy Clarke and Matt Addison. Thanks for joining us here on the Debrief. It's bye for now.